Hello students, welcome to all of you Shiksha 360. In the previous session, we have started our chapter number 6 and this is basically part 2 of the same. So what we have covered in the previous session, let's discuss once. First of all, we have discussed the controlling and what are the characteristics, what are the advantages and limitations. After that, we will discuss types of the control management. Here, we will discuss 2 to 3 questions regarding the same in our today's session. Now, first of all, we will discuss further regarding the control process. Clear? So, what is control process and what are there some other important points related to that? So, the management process of control ensures what it ensures that every activity within an organization is working towards the company's desired outcomes. Clear? So whatever basically we are doing in the company, so that basically it means that basically we are working towards the company's basically desired outcome, or basically we can say that output. The managers of an organization can evaluate how well their company is doing with the assistance of this process. Clear? So basically, who have to evaluate that? The managers, or we can say that the company who hires basically for managing all these things. Clear? This line it is, we can say that like here it means that very normal line. Clear? But you will see that basically we will discuss one question on the same. Directly same, this line they will ask in the form of the question. So taking into account all of this information, they are in a position to choose whether to adjust their plans or to carry on with them in their current state. Clear? So taking into account all of this information, so they are in a position to here basically what that is to choose whether to adjust their plans or to carry on with them in their current state. Now further, so what are the basic elements and steps of the control process? So it is essential here, that is, it is essential to the success of an organization. Clear? It is essential to the success of an organization that the management control function, it is carried out in an accurate and efficient manner. Clear? That the management control function, basically it is to be carried out in an accurate and efficient manner. Following the establishment of plans, management is obligated. Clear? Following the establishment of plans, basically management is obligated to carry out a series of steps in order to guarantee that the plans will be followed. Okay. So first of all, that is we have to be established. Clear? What we have to do. Management basically it is obligated to carry out a series of steps in order to guarantee that the plans basically will be followed. Clear? So whatever they have planned, they have to follow that. The steps that make up the basic control process are the ones that can be followed basically for almost any application, including boosting product quality, that is basically improving the product quality, cutting down on waste, and expanding customer base. The following procedures are included in the fundamental control process. So what are the things basically they have to include? First one, the process of establishing the goals and standards. Clear? That is basically we have not to degrade the quality. Here we have not to degrade the quality. That is, we have to maintain a standard. Whatever they have maintained, that is thing that is in the starting, we have to maintain up to that much point. So although the process of establishing, clear, although the process of establish goals and standard, it is part of the planning process. It also plays a significant part. Clear? Further, that is, it also plays a significant part in the controlling process. This is due to the fact that the primary objective, clear, this is due to the fact that the primary objective of control is to steer the activities of a company in the direction of those goals. Clear? So all the process of establishing goals and standards is part of the planning process. It also plays a significant part in the controlling process. This is due to the fact that the company's primary objective of control is to steer the activities of the company basically in the direction of those goals. It is very important further that basically for managers to communicate their organization goals. Like if you are working, so basically in the bank, so basically you have to aware that whatever like every quarter, clear, what function basically or what work you have to perform, what are the targets, clear, basically how you have to achieve that much targets, clear, or if they are feasible or not feasible, basically you have to make your way in a legitimate way, not in a wrong way, basically in a legitimate way to grow up your business, branch business, or basically whichever office you are working. So it is very important basically for managers to communicate their organizational goals standards and objectives as clearly as possible. If the members of an organization are aware of their goals, so they will devote their full attention to achieve these goals. Clear? So if the members of an organization basically are aware of their goals, so basically they will devote their full attention to achieve those goals. Okay. So basically we are aware that this work we have to done. So basically this type of work or basically this work we have to done in the upcoming time. So basically at the starting, basically we are to be aware regarding that, and in the meanwhile we are planning according to that so that we can do that work. Second one, that is compare the actual performance to the predetermined goals and criteria. Once managers have a clear understanding of their objectives, so they should measure and evaluate their actual performance. Clear? So they should measure and evaluate their actual performance before making the comparisons. So compare the actual performance. That is basically this much is the standard, and what we are performing or what we are doing, we have to compare that. So once a plan has been put into action, managers are required to continuously monitor and assess its effectiveness. Clear how are we doing and how much we are going to achieve. If things are not functioning as they should, so then they should always be prepared to take the necessary corrective actions. Clear? Like if the output is not up to mark as we are planning, so basically we have to be take the corrective actions. Clear? Where we need improvement. In order to accomplish this, they must continuously assess their current performance in relation to the goals they have set for themselves. First, managers need to measure the actual performance before they can compare it to the past performance. Or we can say that the standard. So they can do this basically by measuring results in a monetary context, seeking feedback, or basically we can say that getting feedback basically from the customers and so on. Further, that is they can also hire financial experts. When manager basically want to measure intangible things, that is which we cannot measure in the numerical form, like market reputation, industrial relation, and such other things. So this can often be a difficult task to accomplish. Clear? So these are basically we can say that we can measure easily like output, and there are something like market reputation, industrial relations. Clear? So basically this is the different thing to be here. So that is comparing. First point here, that is the process of establishing goals and standard. Second one, that is comparing the actual performance of the to the predetermined goals and criteria. Next one, what are the steps? Clear, like taking steps to make the necessary corrections. So managers basically are here are obligated to take immediate corrective actions. Clear, to take immediate corrective actions whenever there are gaps basically between the actual performance and the goals they have set for their teams. When taken promptly, corrective action can not only mitigate, that is only reduce the existing damage, but it also prevent from occurring again in the future. There are also the times when companies and other business organizations, clear, basically there are also the times basically when the companies and other business organizations will implement corrective actions as the default in their policies. However, this can be a challenging task to accomplish basically when dealing with more involved issues. Okay, so I will repeat, that is sometimes basically like there are times, many times that is company basically will perform the or implement the corrective actions, clear, so that they can improve the business. However, this can be a challenging task. Clear, like basically sometimes basically we have more issues. So basically we have to be basically very challenging or basically very difficult for us basically to take that much of decisions. So when this happens, managers are responsible basically for figuring out how severe the issue is and coming up with a plan to quantify it. They could be forced to resort to extraordinary means on occasion in order to solve unseen, unforeseen problems. Clear? Whatever basically they are taking a corrective action, sometimes basically with the respect to do that, with respect to them, there are some other problem arises. Clear? So basically for all these unseen problems, they have to be responsible according to that. Now move to the next point. So here, first of all, I will discuss some of the questions, basically whatever we have covered till now or in the previous sessions. Clear? So we have covered in the previous session regarding the limitations. So there is one question regarding that. So I request to all of you kindly respond. What with what is one of the limitation of control? So it may be costly to implement, especially in the smaller farm. Second one, it provides feedback basically for data improvement for future planning. It results in better coordination within the organization, or it simplifies supervision and helps in delegation and decentralization. Clear? So here you will find that some of the advantages, or one is the limitation. This one is the limitation, that it may be costly to implement, especially in the smaller firms, which we have discussed in the previous session. Okay? So this one will be the answer. I will show you here also, like limitation. It may be costly to implement, especially in the smaller firms. Clear? So that is the same thing I am saying. Just you have to go through these point 2 times. Definitely you are able to answer the question. Like simplify supervision, better coordination, all these things basically it is comes under the advantages. Now move to the next question. So what or which type of control management? Basically, it is based on the feedback received after the activity has taken place. Basically, now the activity has taken place. So that is to be the basically feedback control. Clear? So what it, basically when the activity has to be taken place, that is the feedback control. Basically before the activity, that is proactive. During the activity, that is concurrent. Clear? So here option number A will be the answer, that is the activity has already occurred. Now, with the type of control management, basically it is future directed. That is in the future, basically we have to take and anticipates problem well in advance. Clear? Basically activity till now has not happened. And what is the answer? Please tell fast in the comment section. Basically, what will be the answer? Option number A, that is the feedback control. Option number B, that is the proactive control. Option number C, that is the concurrent control. Option number D, that is the reactive control. Clear? That is basically future activity. Basically for the future activity, basically which we have to go on perform, we have to already analyze regarding that. That is to the proactive control. So option number B will be the answer here. Now move to the next point. So what is the main advantage of controlling as a management function? Clear? Now basically we have to be main advantage. Kindly remember the word, that is what is of the following, basically it is the main advantage of controlling as a management. Clear? So it helps in achieving the organizational goals. It provides feedback for data improvement, basically for future planning. It results in better coordination or simplify supervision. Clear? So the main advantage basically of controlling it, that is basically it helps in achieving the organizational goals. Clear? This is the main advantage. All these are others, but overall we can say that whichever one it is the most important, that is basically to achieving the organizational goals. We can say that basically output of the organization. So option number A will be the correct answer to be hit. So now next one, basically in the today's session, we have to discuss what is the relationship between planning and control. Clear? So now let's start. Very, very important, that is planning and control. So the process of planning and controlling are inextricably linked to the one another. The objective of the organization basically are determined through the planning process, and the controlling process ensures that they are to be met here. Okay. The objectives of the organization basically are determined through the planning process, and the controlling process ensure that they are met. So the planning phase basically determines the control phase, and the controlling phase. Clear? Basically, planning phase basically determines the control phase. And further, that is the controlling phase basically lays a solid foundation for the planning phase. So in practice, we can say that both are to be interlinked or mutually reliant on one another. Clear? So just remember that both are interlinked with each other, that is planning and control. So control is an aspect of planning as well as the projection of planning. Whereas planning determines the course to be taken, control basically monitors deviation from a course. Clear? Basically, planning basically we have to do that work, and control over that basically that we have to perform this work in that specific way, and then takes action to either return to the originally planned course or to a course basically that is to be more suitable as per the situation. So planning basically it is the foundation for control because it provides an entire spectrum on which the control functions are to be based. So this makes basically planning the basis for the control. So the twin pillars of management, that are planning and control, cannot be separated. So in the examination, basically you will get basically which of the twin pillars, which one of the following are the twin pillars of management. So just remember that that is planning and controlling are to be considered as the twin pillars basically for the management to be here. So these management functions are intricately linked to one another, or we can say that depend upon one another to be here. Now move, what are the functions there? First one, that is further, that is the controlling function. Basically, it is to be built on top of planning, because controlling requires measuring performance. Clear? So under the control, that is we have to do that work, or basically how much work this is to be done. Clear? So the controlling function is built on top of planning, because controlling requires measuring the performance against the standards in order to analyze deviation and take corrective actions. Clear? Because controlling requires measuring performance against the standards in order to analyze the deviation and take corrective action. Planning, it is the foundation of the controlling function. So therefore, control cannot be exercised without prior planning. So basically, we have to do the planning, and after that, controlling it is to be done. So planning, it is the foundation of the controlling function. This one, it is another important line. So therefore, control cannot be exercised without prior planning. Planning without controlling, it is pointless, because without controlling, it is impossible to monitor the progress of plans and ensure that they are being carried out in the correct manner. Clear? So planning without controlling, basically it is to be pointless, because without controlling, it is impossible to monitor the progression of plans and ensure that they are being carried out in the correct manner. So therefore, planning will not be successful in achieving the goals if it does not include control. Clear? So therefore, basically planning will not be successful in achieving the goals. Basically, if it does not control. Clear? That is basically we are continuously planning our things, but we have not control how we have to do the work, so we will not successful under that. Clear? You are very well aware that very well aware that is basically you are going to do this work, but you are also aware that basically no one will ask basically whether you are doing that work or not. Clear? So that will not let you successful. Clear? That is totally failure. So the process of planning, it is considered thinking, while controlling is considered when executive function. Very, very important. That is the process of planning. Basically, it is to be considered thinking, while controlling, it is to be considered an executive function. So while planning basically requires imaginative and innovative thought, as well as a sound judgment on the same thing, controlling basically ensures that decisions made during the planning are translated into the actions. Controlling basically ensures what ensures that the decisions made during the planning basically are translated into the action that are to be decided. So therefore, planning basically it is more of an evaluative activity, while controlling basically it is more of the prescriptive one. Clear? Prescriptive one. Oh, whatever basically these things are to be very simpler in, and in the examination basically you will get questions like today. Basically we have discussed 3 to 4 questions. These types of question basically frequently you will get in the examination if you have gone through the theory very well. So as we are also providing some question in the group also for the practice purpose, so you are very well aware that how different types of question they will ask, and we have to analyze the question and answer over that. Okay. So whatever we have discussing, definitely you will get in the examination in the form of the questions or case study. So there are different, basically the relationship between how they can explain control techniques. Clear? So in this session, we have discussed this one is the last point, that is the relationship between the planning and control may be explained as below here. That is the planning stage. Basically, it is the originator of control. During the planning phase, objectives and targets are to be established. A control process basically it is required in order to successfully meet all these objectives. Clear? So control process basically it is to be required in order to successfully meet these objectives. Therefore, planning comes basically before controlling. Clear? So therefore, basically planning comes basically before controlling, etc. Control helps planning sustain for long term. Clear? Basically, if we are control, we have planning and we have also control. Clear? That is basically we are performing our work and someone it is checking whether we are doing that or not. Clear? So that is control helps planning sustain for long term. So the path that planning takes can be influenced by controlling. The act of controlling draws attention to the parts of the process that require planning. Clear? So the act of controlling basically draws attention to the parts of the process basically that require planning. Third one, the control process basically supplies information that can be used for planning. Clear? The control process basically supplies information that can be used for planning. Clear? So during the controlling process, the actual performance, clear? During the controlling process, the actual performance, it is to be compared to the standards that were established, and any deviations that are found are to be recorded. The data gathered basically for the purpose of exercising control are also utilized in the planning process. Here, so the data gathered basically for the purpose of exercise control are also gathered basically in the planning process. Clear? So all these are the relationship between the planning and control. That is a planning stage. It is the originator of control. Second one, that is controls helps plan sustain for the long term. Further, that is the control process basically supplies information that can be used for the planning. Okay. So these are some other important points regarding the same. And in the next session, we will discuss some other more points along with some other questions. Here in the next session, I will try to cover 8 to 9 questions and 25 to 30 minutes theory. Hope all of you are able to understand all these points. And if you like this session, so please share with your friends. So thanks to all of you and give you valuable feedback.